The moment the little girl looked up at the towering biker and quietly said the words that would change everything, the air inside the roadside diner seemed to freeze, because sometimes a single sentence carries the weight of an entire past, and this was one of those moments that no one present would ever forget. And before the story truly unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, take a second right now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs hope today, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this bring people together across the world. And this one began on a rain-soaked afternoon when a group of Hell's Angels riders pulled into a quiet town they rarely visited, engines rumbling like distant thunder, leather jackets heavy with patches, faces worn by years of hard roads and harder choices, led by a man named Marcus Hale whose reputation alone made people step aside without a word, a man who had seen loyalty, betrayal, violence, and loss, and who wore his past permanently etched into his skin, especially the faded tattoo on his forearm, a symbol from his younger days that most people never dared to ask about. As they entered the diner, the usual hush followed them, forks paused mid-air, waitresses stiffened, fear mixed with curiosity, because legends tend to arrive louder than truth. Yet in the corner booth sat a small girl named Emily Carter, no older than 9, thin jacket, scuffed shoes, clutching a worn backpack, waiting for her mother who was late again from her second job. Emily was used to waiting, used to empty tables and cold fries, used to the looks of pity that adults tried to hide. Her father had been gone for 2 years, not dead, just vanished, leaving behind unanswered questions and a small collection of memories she carried like fragile glass. Among them a photograph of a smiling man holding her on a motorcycle and the image of a tattoo on his arm she remembered tracing with her finger when she was younger, a tattoo she had never forgotten. When Marcus sat at the counter and rolled up his sleeve without thinking, Emily's eyes caught sight of the ink and something inside her stirred, recognition mixed with fear and hope. Her heart started beating faster as she stared, comparing memory with reality, and before she could stop herself she stood up, walked slowly across the diner floor, each step feeling heavier then the last, surrounded by men who looked like monsters to the world but were simply human beneath the leather. The room held its breath as this tiny girl stopped beside Marcus, looked up at him with eyes too old for her age, and said softly that her dad had that tattoo too. And when she revealed his name, Daniel Carter, Marcus froze in a way no one had ever seen before, his hand tightening on the coffee cup, his jaw locking, eyes darkening as the past rushed back like a flood, because Daniel Carter was not just a name, he was a brother, a writer, a man who had taken a fall meant for someone else and disappeared the night everything went wrong, officially labeled a traitor by rumors, unofficially mourned by those who knew the truth. Marcus had spent years carrying the guilt of not finding him, of not protecting him, of letting the world forget him, and now here stood his child, fragile proof that Daniel had lived beyond the chaos. Emily didn't understand the storm behind Marcus's eyes. She only knew that for the first time since her father vanished, someone reacted to his name as if it mattered, as if he mattered. Her life until this point had been a quiet struggle of missed meals, whispered worries, and a mother named Sarah Carter who worked herself into exhaustion just to keep a roof overhead. Sarah had loved Daniel despite his flaws, despite the danger that followed him, and when he disappeared she was left with questions that never got answers and a daughter who asked why her dad never called. Emily learned early not to ask anymore, but she never stopped hoping. The diner moment shifted something unseen. Marcus slowly stood, towering yet careful, knelt so he was eye level with Emily, and for the first time in years his voice trembled as he asked about her mother, about where they lived, about how they were surviving. The other bikers watched in stunned silence as their leader showed a side none of them had witnessed, because loyalty in their world ran deep, and Daniel Carter had been loyal to the end. The ride back into town that day wasn't loud or reckless, it was purposeful, as Marcus and 2 others followed Emily home, not with threats but with concern, to a small, peeling apartment where Sarah opened the door and nearly collapsed when she saw the patches on their backs, fear flooding her face until Marcus said Daniel's name with respect instead of suspicion, until he told her the truth about what happened years ago, how Daniel had taken the blame for a mistake that would have destroyed the club, how he had been sent away for his own protection, how Marcus had searched but lost the trail, and how guilt had followed him ever since. Sarah cried not from anger but from release, because someone finally acknowledged that Daniel wasn't a coward who abandoned his family. Emily listened quietly as pieces of her broken story slowly came together. Days turned into weeks, And the Hell's Angels, feared by the town, became unexpected. Guardians, groceries appeared at Sarah's door, Emily's school fees were quietly paid, a broken heater fixed, and for the first time in a long while, laughter returned to the small apartment. Marcus arranged a meeting that no one thought possible, tracking Daniel through old contacts, finding him alive but broken, living under a different name, hiding from a past he thought would destroy his daughter if it ever caught up to her. The reunion was not dramatic in a movie sense, no screaming or running, just a man falling to his knees when he saw how tall his little girl had grown, and Emily realizing that sometimes love disappears not because it wants to, but because it thinks it must. Daniel came back slowly, carefully, rebuilding trust one day at a time. Marcus watched from a distance, a leader learning humility, understanding that strength isn't just about intimidation but about responsibility. The town noticed the change, noticed how the bikers stood up for the vulnerable, how rumors didn't match reality, and how a little girl's courage rewrote a story years in the making. And if this story is touching something inside you right now, if you feel that lump in your throat or that warmth in your chest, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and let others feel this too, because these stories only live on when they're passed from heart to heart. Emily grew up knowing that one brave sentence changed her life, that kindness can exist in the most intimidating places, and that her father's tattoo was never just ink, it was a symbol of loyalty, sacrifice, and love that refused to die. And before this story ends, we want to ask you something special. Please comment below and tell us who this story reminded you of, or simply type, "Kindness still exists," if you believe the world needs more moments like this, because sometimes the smallest voice reveals the biggest truth, and sometimes the people we fear the most become the ones who save us, leaving behind not just a memory, but a reminder that redemption often arrives when we least expect it.